What's good, y'all? What's good, Real Talk Squad? This is Miles, and you're listening to Real Talk with Miles Johnson, where you know we always keep it real. Let's get straight into it, man. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. It is an Eagles episode. Back at it again, and yes, yesterday was a roller coaster. It flat out was, and I was looking back at my live reaction during the Eagles comeback win. Dallas Goedert! Dallas Goedert! Dallas Goedert! Oh my God! Oh my God! I was in disgust, bro. I was looking back at that joint in disgust. I was like, oh, wow, I'm screaming like a little girl. But I mean, it is real talk, so I guess I should keep it real. I should keep it a bean. I should keep it a stack. But my goodness, I ain't know I sounded like that. Dallas Goedert, oh my God, Squan Barkley. But that's how I really be, though. I ain't gonna lie. Ask my pop, ask my mom, ask my little sisters, ask my homeboys. I mean, ask anybody who really be around me. That's really how I act, bro. And it's really my squad. But I gotta be objective when I talk about my squad. And I'm glad that they proved me wrong. What's the one facet of the game that proved me wrong against the Saints? The Eagles defense. The Eagles defense showed up, and they deserve all the praise in the world. There are several key contributors on this defense that we want to highlight. First things first, we have to highlight Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, all their impact on this game. Jalen Carter had his best game as a pro when all the pressure was on him to perform. Maybe it was pressure that he put on himself after he was late to a meeting, but instead of being like, oh, I don't know who leaked that, I don't know who's talking behind my back, whether it's a team member, whether it's a staff member, instead of taking it personal, what he did was say, bet, that was on me. Let me go ahead and take accountability, and let me show y'all why I was the number 9 overall pick in the draft, and why my rookie season wasn't no fluke, and why I'm a young superstar in this league. Jalen Carter did all of that. Let's get into his stats. He had a batted pass, tackle for loss, and some sideline taunts. Jalen Carter can talk all he want. I know some of y'all like that's immature. I don't care. If you ball like that, talk your talk. Because some of them fans be talking crazy. And after what they did to my man Schmitty and did to my man Slay, go ahead and talk that talk, bro. They deserve it. Jordan Davis snapped, bro. Jordan Davis snapped. 12-yard sack, his first sack since week 7 of last year, his first full sack since week 2 of last year, and he was everywhere. He had 4 tackles. He went ahead as well and was just everywhere. Another tackle for loss, his first John since week 2 of last year. The Eagles need Jordan Davis to be more consistent. And back to Jalen Carter, he had his first 2 tackles for loss this season after totaling 8 last year. Yes, this brother had a sensational rookie year. He also had 2 pass deflections and 4 total tackles. He also became the first Eagles defensive lineman to have multiple pass deflections in a single game in the past 3 seasons. He had a sensational game. He deserves all the props for being accountable, for showing up, and for, again, rising to the occasion. And his brother, Jordan Davis, did the same. In order for the Eagles defense to be as effective as they were against the Saints, it's going to come down to the Eagles' foundation. It's their defensive line, and it starts with Jordan Davis. It starts with Jalen Carter. Those 2 Georgia Bulldogs that are now on basically the Philadelphia Bulldogs. There's a couple other Bulldogs that we're going to talk about, right? Let's talk about Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham deserves a round of applause, a standing ovation for what he has done this season at 36 years old. Now, yes, the Eagles defense played amazing out their minds, and Vic Fangio had them boys ready to play. But it is not ideal to have a 36-year-old Brandon Graham be your most effective pass rusher. That's not good. I'm telling you it's not good, bro. And that wasn't the plan. If Brandon Graham is your best edge rusher week in and week out, you're now putting him at a point where he has to exert more energy in the regular season when the Eagles need BG to be fresh for the playoffs. This is the time where a guy like Bryce Huff, who you signed for $51 million, he's carrying the load. This is a time where Nolan Smith, who you drafted to be that guy in the post-Hassan Reddick era, to snap. But instead, it's BG still having to carry this defensive line. And kudos to him. It's not BG's fault, but I'm looking at his teammates to go ahead and show up and help the guy. Help the old man. I mean, he ain't old, but for NFL standards, he old. Now, he is defying Father Time, and I got to give him credit, but that's not what we want to see. We want to see BG be that complimentary piece, and either Bryce Huff or Nolan Smith or Josh Sweat reign the defense, be that leader of the defense. That's what we really want to see from this defense. I want to shout out C.J. Garner-Johnson. C.J. Garner-Johnson is another guy that I don't care if he talks trash. Y'all was talking trash all game too. He had a great run-stopping play against Alvin Kamara. And yeah, he got beat on that touchdown by Chris Olave. But look, bro, he on the field. He's strapping them up. He doing what he got to do. I like his fight. I like what he brings, that different edge to this team. This Eagles team, especially this year compared to last year, was missing that. They were missing that. And they got that this year when they got C.J. Garner-Johnson. He gives that edge. He gave that Philly edge. And I ain't going to lie, if he was from Philly, he would be from North. Because that's how he act, just like he from North, man. Let's talk about this coaching. Vic Fangio is by far the best coach that the Eagles have right now. Given the talent that he's had to work with, yes, it's been big names on that defensive line. But the big names have not shown up until this Saints game. Regardless, given the players that he has on defense, Vic Fangio has gotten the most out of the talent given to him. On the other side, Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni are underachieving, and I believe their players on offense are winning games and are being productive in spite of those guys. In spite of them. Now back to Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio did a veteran move. What did he do? He said, I don't care that this guy Bryce Huff got signed a mega contract. I don't care. If he not ready to play, if I can't trust him, he's going to be a part-time player. I don't care. And I'm going to play Brandon Graham over him. That's a veteran move. Because a lot of, and I think young coaches would have tried to play Bryce Huff to try to prove that the Eagles made the right decision in getting him in free agency. When Vic Fangio, he know the writing on the wall. Y'all overreacted to a Bryce Huff year during a contract year, and he sees it day in, day out. Bryce Huff ain't Hassan Reddick. He's not that guy to be the lead dog on this defensive line. He's simply not. And that was a miss by Hyatt Roseman. He flat out, airballed that, John. My biggest fear with this whole trading Hassan Reddick situation and Bryce Huff, it was like, I don't want to trade Hassan Reddick and then not get the best version of Bryce Huff, which we have not gotten as of this moment. Maybe he'll change. And the way that this Eagles team is going, I mean, look, they might surprise me and go crazy again. I don't know. They are unpredictable. But I'm just going off the evidence given to me at this moment. And the evidence given to me at this moment is that Bryce Huff is a bust. And he's one of the worst offseason signings in the NFL. The Eagles could have had Chase Young. The Eagles could have had Andrew Van Ginkel. The Eagles could have had a boatload of other players outside of a guy in Bryce Huff. But they chose to give him $17 million a year for the next 3 years, and they got to go ahead and live with that, man. And that's just where we at, and we got to figure out what are better ways that we can use that guy. Let's get into the offense of this coaching staff. Nick Sirianni thinks that he's Doug Peterson. And let me tell you something, buddy. You're not. And you'll never be. Now, that there was this press conference he had earlier today, a day after the victory, and a great reporter, asked him, like, what was the thought process behind going for it with 13 seconds left in the first half on a 4th and 1, and you're not in, red zone territory? What's the reasoning for that? Want to know what Nick Sirianni said in response to why he went for it on 4th and 1 with 14 seconds left in the first half? Want to know why he went for it?
So if I may follow up on that one before the half, there was 14 seconds remaining.
I did what I thought was best for us in that particular case, and hey, it didn't work. And so, like I said, when it doesn't work, there's nowhere else to look but right here, right on me. I told you guys last night, there's nothing to follow up on. I told you guys last night who called the play. That was me. I called it, and it didn't work there in that situation.
Did you think that you would have two opportunities if you did get the first down?
Yeah.
You still thought, because there'll be 10 seconds left.
I still thought we would get 2 opportunities.
Because you still have to kick the field goal.
I understand that.
He tried to lie to us and say, I thought this was the best move for the team. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And it was a selfish move, because what you're trying to do is prove to everybody that you are Doug Peterson. You're not Doug Peterson. You'll never be Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson called plays. Doug Peterson was a better offensive mind than you. Now, yes, the Eagles hired you initially to call plays, but clearly they don't trust you calling plays. And there's a reason why before this season started, I said, look, I don't want Nick Sirianni touching this offense. I don't want Nick Sirianni touching this offense. Get away. Get away. If you want to be a CEO, cool. But I don't want you touching this offense. Oh, Miles, you are hating. You're yapping. What are we seeing now? A guy in Nick Sirianni who can't help himself. He wants to try to prove that he's Doug Peterson. He's not Doug Peterson. He will never be Doug Peterson. And I just can't stand a guy who is trying to sabotage this season to prove to everybody else that he's this offensive mastermind. Dude, stick to what you're good at. And at this moment, I don't know what you're good at. But first things first, how about you get away from this offense? Please do that. Can you please do that, bro? Please. Let's talk about Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is not that much better than Brian Johnson. And I know a lot of Eagles fans are going to want to rebuttal this, but hear me out. What's a clear advantage that Kellen Moore has above Brian Johnson? He has Saquon freaking Barkley. Now, Brian Johnson wasn't no Sean McVay. I ain't saying he's some mastermind play caller, but under Brian Johnson, DeAndre Swift had 1,000 yards. A.J. Brown had 1,000 yards. Devontae Smith had 1,000 yards. And Jaylen Herz had a career high in touchdowns. That's all facts. That's all facts. And there's reason to believe that those numbers would have gone higher if he had Saquon Barkley. Now, how does this relate to Kellen Moore? Kellen Moore ain't perfect. I still see QB draws from 3rd and long. I still see bubble screens to like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best player on the depth chart. Why are you sending double screens for Britton Covey in the red zone? We saw that against the Falcons. You can't defend that stuff. How come in the first quarter you don't give the ball to Saquon Barkley? And let me say this to everyone that was saying the reason why Kellen Moore didn't give the ball to Saquon in the first quarter was because of a pitch count. They don't want to run him to the ground. Let me point this out to y'all. Let's compare Saquon Barkley to Christian McCaffrey real quick. So Christian McCaffrey last year with the 49ers, he went ahead and had 272 carries all of last season. 30% of those, 83 of those carries, came in the first quarter. What does that mean? That means that Kyle Shanahan and that 49ers offense were very intentional about getting Christian McCaffrey going early to establish the run and get that presence in the run game early. And that's because they know how important it is to establish the run early. So what sense does it make that you sign a guy for over $35 million and you don't give him the ball in the first quarter? Now, yes, it worked against Derek Carr because he's not an elite quarterback in this league. But you can't do that stuff against elite teams, against elite quarterbacks, or they will make you pay for that. They are going to make you pay for that. You can't go a quarter and a half, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, where you're not putting up points on the board. And it doesn't take a genius to say maybe if Saquon Barkley got the ball sooner, the Eagles' offense would have been going sooner. Because if the guy has 17 carries for 147 rushing yards, 8.9 yards a pop, 2 touchdowns, it's safe to say that maybe, just maybe, if you establish the run earlier, you're talking about a Saquon Barkley who might have had $170, $160, and it wouldn't even have been a game later on in that game. Not to mention you're without A.J. Brown, so where are you about to go to? Oh, but you want to use Jaylen Herz as a runner. You want to use him like Lamar Jackson. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Lamar Jackson. You feel me? I want to compare Jaylen Herz to Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. Let me say this. Let me say this about Jaylen Herz, right? Jaylen Herz is the total opposite of Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. What do I mean by that? Jaylen Herz doesn't do his best in the beginning of games, but he's his best at the end of games. When his team is trailing, he plays his best. Unlike Dak Prescott, who's a front runner, who doesn't play well at the end of games. He's great in the beginning when he's up. He's great when it's not that much pressure. Lamar Jackson is great when it's not that much pressure, when he's leading. But when them palms get sweaty and it's clutch time and you need a drive to save your life for the guys, what do? They fold. But I know that Jaylen Herz, without 2 offensive linemen, without 2 of his top wide receivers, with a coach that was literally holding the team back, Jaylen Herz has a go-ahead game-winning touchdown drive to win the game. Because I heard the chatter of everybody in football, all these Eagles fans, so-called Eagles fans, turn on Jaylen Herz and say he's Carson Wentz. No. Now, yes, I can acknowledge those turnovers are not good, and he has to clean those up, and there's no excuse for that. But y'all go on the deep end. I don't know if you're so scarred off of what happened with the Carson Wentz era post his injury, but Jaylen Herz is not that. He's not. Because what happens when Jaylen Herz is doubted? What happens when Jaylen Herz is disrespected? What happens when Jaylen Herz is counted out? He surpasses expectations time again and time again. He was doubted. He was made fun of. He was a laughingstock at Alabama when Tua took his spot. What happened in the SEC championship game that following year? It was Jaylen Herz who came back against all odds and beat Georgia. That's that same Jaylen Herz right now. And that's why he's the total opposite of Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. Because instead of being a front runner, he plays his best when all the chips are stacked against him, and he's doubted, and he's hated, and he's counted out, and he still rises to the occasion. That's exactly what happened in the Super Bowl. That's exactly what happened at Alabama, and that's exactly what happened against the New Orleans Saints. What are you talking about, bro? Hey, like, comment, subscribe. Show me some love. Show me some love, because we cooking right now. We cooking right now. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is... I'm sorry, he's not a top 7 tight end. Right now, he's the best tight end in football. I mean, George Kittle, he's out. The guy Hawkinson from the Vikings, he's out. Sam Laporta, although I never thought that he was better than Dallas Goedert, he's injured with the ankle injury. I mean, right now, and Travis Kelce, he's better in the playoffs, but regular season right now, I'm taking Dallas Goedert over Travis Kelce. And so ultimately, the Eagles have to include Dallas Goedert in their offense outside of just when Devontae's out, outside of just when A.J. Brown is out. No, this offense cannot get to its full potential if you don't use Dallas Goedert even when A.J. Brown comes back. And I don't expect Dallas Goedert to be like going for $170 when A.J. and Devontae are back. But what I'm saying, though, is you got to target him way more than you have been. I mean, against the Falcons, 4 targets? What? That's a shame. That's disgraceful. That's shameful. That's on Kellen Moore. You know, so unfortunately, it took Smitty getting a concussion, AJ having hamstring issues, for y'all to finally realize, oh, we have a top 5 tight end and currently the best tight end in football on our team. Maybe, just maybe, we should use the man. My last point, man, we have to show some love to Fred Johnson and Tyler Steen. Now, Tyler Steen, he had some injury issues. I believe it was an ankle injury, and he ended up losing his starting spot to Mekhi Becton. But he was kind of like always in the mix, you feel me? And he's a 3rd-round pick. I believe like he'll always be in the mix. But I want to have a special shout-out to Fred Johnson. And this is what sports are all about, because he had to fill in some big shoes. You're talking about Lane Johnson, he had to fill. Those are some of the biggest shoes you got to fill in the NFL. The best right tackle in the NFL. Let's just talk about his record with the Eagles versus the Eagles' record without him. They have a 62% win percentage with Lane Johnson versus without him a 39% win percentage. All the odds were stacked against Fred Johnson. The man hasn't played significant snaps in the NFL since 2021 with the Bengals. But guess what? When preparation met opportunity, he answered the call. And when pressure makes diamonds, oh man, he was ready to deliver. And Fred Johnson delivered. And we don't win that game if it's not for Tyler Steen, if it's not for Fred Johnson, if it's not for Jeff Stoutland University, that is one of the best offensive line coaches ever. And we got to show some love to Fred Johnson. I was so happy to hear like Fred Johnson was overcome with emotions. He was emotional after that game because he earned that, bro. He earned that. It was the odds stacked against him. And when preparation met opportunity, it was Fred Johnson that answered. He didn't quiver. He didn't fold. He showed up, and the Eagles don't win that game if it's not for Fred Johnson, man. Let's show the brother some love. Let's show him some praise. And Philly should stand up, give him a standing ovation, because that is what Philly is all about. It's not about being the top dog. It's about being that underdog. It's about being somebody that when you're counted out, when you're doubted on, when the odds are stacked against you, you show up when nobody thought you could. I believed in the guy. I believed in him. I know he can. I know his ability, and we are going to see it again, because I'm not completely sold if Lane Johnson is going to be, back, next week. And I believe that Fred Johnson is, again, going to answer the call, man. That guy, that is high character. He represents Philly all the way through and through. Salute to that guy. I love y'all, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all that jazz. I'm going to edit this drum, all that. And, yeah, subscribe to the podcast, too. It's going to be link in bio. But yeah, Apple Music, Spotify, all that jazz. Again, share with a friend and share with a friend. I love y'all. Peace.